Greetings, Captains. I am Wizard, and welcome to another Starfield ship build guide. I have another modded build for you today, and this one can easily be built on Xbox and on PC. This is the Prisma, a Class C super destroyer that can easily fill any role that you need it to. It's 138 meters long by 104 meters wide, and is 5 HAB module units tall. It's got a mass of only 3,430, and so it easily achieves a mobility of 100, while also offering a maximum cargo capacity before skills and crew of 166,000. That performance is largely thanks to the Darkstar Astrodynamics mod, and the design of the ship is largely thanks to the Intrinity Aeroworks mod. The Prisma has absolutely no ladders and uses one main lift with a couple of staircases. 2 of those stairs are located in the Cabot Bridge that is sunken into the ship on the top, and to me that's one of the most distinctive design elements of the exterior of the ship. That was inspired directly by Dr. Schutz, who has built several ships using this technique, and I think it looks incredible sunken down like this, and there is only very minimal clipping on the inside. So now we can get into what you need to build the Prisma, and I can get on with showing you how to build it.
And with that, our next adventure starts.
If you're new to my channel, welcome. And if you're new to Starfield, you might be interested in learning about some beautiful planetary locations that are great for building home bases like Indigo Ridge. And I also have a guide on how you can make on-demand credits with a Vitinium mine, which can also be expanded upon to create passive income as you're playing the game. This can all be found in my Outpost Guide playlist. If you want to see some of what's possible in the vanilla ship builder, I have a full fleet of vanilla ship build guides starting at level 14 and going all the way to level 60 and above. Everything from fighters to corvettes to destroyers, and even heavy cargo hauling ships for your credit needs. You will find what you're looking for in my vanilla Starship archive playlist. If you flex the possibilities of the vanilla shipbuilder and you want to see what is possible with a modded shipbuilder, I have a growing fleet of modded builds in my modded Starship archive playlist. Ships like the Kronos, the Typhon, the Basilisk X, and now the Prisma really showcase what is possible within the game. They also have a wider range of HAB units and much higher performance. Aside from outpost and ship builds, I also like to get my hands dirty in the game and engage in some FPS combat. Check out my Becoming a God playlist for the progression of a character that's starting with 0 combat skills and eventually ending with all of the combat skills and all of the starborn powers. This series is aimed at showcasing what is fully possible within the game's skills and also with mods. And as always, thank you for watching. Before I begin building the Prisma and showing you how to do so, I need to show you exactly what you need to build the Prisma exactly as I do in this guide. You'll need to reach character level 93 if you're in at least NG plus 8, or you'll need to be at character level 103 if you're in at least NG plus 1. You'll need 1.6 million credits, that's at Commerce rank 4 and with Darkstar VIP mode turned off. You'll also need Piloting rank 4 and Starship Design rank 4. The list of necessary mods you see on screen are what you'll need to build this ship, and some of these mods have patches, so make sure to check the mod descriptions for those. But if you are playing on Xbox, there will be some of the mods in that list that you do not have on Creations. To substitute those, you'll need to use shipbuilding tweaks, cheaty engines, decorative engines, and 18 ship weapons. If you're on PC, in order to allow for part clipping and merging, you'll need to add the lines that you see on screen to your StarfieldCustom INI. Links to all of these, as well as that line that you can copy and paste, will be in the description. Here I am in another new universe, with nothing but the Frontier and the Starborn Guardian, neither of which I'm a big fan of, the Frontier at least not in its stock form. So before doing literally anything else, I found a suitable location on Crete and put down this Dark Star ship builder and started getting to work. Get into the builder and select your starting ship. It can be anything, and delete the whole thing. This way we are starting fresh. And as always, we'll be starting with the landing bay. Now, one-of-a-kind ships offers these alternative landing bays, and I really like this screen door option because it lifts the lowest point of your ship other than your landing gears up one whole module unit. So attached to the one-of-a-kind screen door is going to be a Shroud empty 1x1, and then we need a door 4 on the back of that 1x1. Attached to that door, we need a Shroud Armory empty 2x1, and this is going to be our Team Scorpio inspired dropship style landing bay. After you place a passway along on the back of that 2x1, we're going to attach our lift. For this one I used the Trident 3-floor lift, and make sure you have it positioned like this, with the 2x1 going into the bottom level of the lift. Then grab another passway along and place it on the second level of the front of the lift. And then we also need a door starboard on the port side, second level of the lift, and a door port on the starboard side. This is because of the way that these doors open. The third level front of the lift is going to be where the bridge attaches, so we don't need anything there. But on the bottom level rear of the lift, we need another door 4, and then we need a passway along on both of the second and third levels of the back of the Trident lift. And now attached to the bottom door on the lift, we need a Deimos empty 1x1, and this is going to be our airlock for our docking port. And since I'm trying to keep the underside of this ship as high as possible, we're going to use the 100 DP Slim Docker from Deimos. So now we have our landing bay and our docker down there. And moving up to the second level of the lift, attached to the passway along on the front, we need a 2x3 mess hall. I chose a Shroud here, but I actually prefer the look of the inside of the Deimos 2x3 mess hall, so I do switch that later. But here we need a passway along in the middle and on the starboard side front. And then attached to the passway in the center, we need a Shroud large stair 4. And on the front of that large hab unit, we need a door 4 on the bottom and a door aft on the top level. And then this is going to allow the ship's crew access to a lot of hab modules. So on the sides, on the port side of the stair, we need a door starboard, top and bottom, right in the middle. I'll delete that front one in just a second. And then on the starboard side, we need door ports on the bottom center and the top, front, and rear points on the starboard side. The first hab I'm going to attach to this stair is going to be the Intrinity Aeroworks brig and armory. This thing is huge and the interior is awesome. On the front center of that, we need a passway along. And then above the brig and armory, we're going to use a luxurious lounge 2x2. And then we need a door on the front of that one as well, and that is going to be a door 4. Now we need to add a door to the side of that lounge to give us a little bit extra access to the other habs we're going to place. So grab a starboard door and put that on the front starboard point of the lounge. Now on the front of the brig and armory, we need a Shroud workshop 2x1. And above that, attached to the lounge, we're going to use a luxurious armory 2x1. Now we can move on to the habs at the side of the stair. First, we need a Nova Galactic Science Lab. Make sure you have it positioned like this. And then you can copy that over and change it to an infirmary 2x1. Now, we need to place a passway on the back of that science lab for a porthole later. And now to complete the rear of the lower deck, we need to start with a Deimos computer core 2x1 on the port side of the Trident lift, and a Deimos control station 2x1 on the starboard side of the Trident lift. Now we need a passway across on the front of each of those habs that we just placed. And then we're going to add some doors to the mess hall. We need a port door on the starboard side and a starboard door on the port side. Now let's grab 2 more passways for the inside of those 2x1s, and that is for our core window. All those purple spots you see in there are going to be windows for core viewing. Now on the port side of the mess hall and computer core, we need an engineering bay 2x2 from Deimos. And then we can duplicate that to the other side and change it to a battle stations. That completes the main deck of the ship. And now we can move to the top level of the Trident lift and attach our Cabot C4 bridge. And behind that, we're going to place our captain's quarters. Now, just like the landing bays and dockers, bridges do not need a place doors yourself door. They will still automatically generate them for you. And attached to the upper attachment point on the bridge, we need a luxurious captain's quarters 2x1. And before I forget, I also quickly placed a hull upright on the underside of the captain's quarters for another core viewing window. Now moving back to the fore portion of the ship, we need a Stroud all-in-one berth 2x1B, and then a Stroud all-in-one berth 3x1 on the opposite side. And then attached to the front of the 2x1 all-in-one, we need a door aft. And attached to that, we need a Deimos all-in-one berth 3x1. And that completes our hab layout. And now we can place the rest of our window attachment points with hull uprights. The first one you need here on the front of the captain's quarters. And then you need 2 just in front of the bridge, and then skip 1 unit. Move these both up to here, and move the last one right here. Now I do move these, but keep them where you see them now. I moved them to try it out. I didn't like it, and I'm just showing it for continuity's sake. So keep them where I first had them placed. I know that's confusing, but moving on. Now that that's all done, we can delete our leftover doors that were here for ease of building, because we are done placing doors and windows. Now, since this is a big ship, I want to be able to leave the builder and make a save with all this complete, so you can see what we need to still attach to the ship, and we're going to do that crudely, just so we can leave the builder and make a save. So let's start with some cargo out in our engine nacelles. Now I'm using all Darkstar XDC discretes using this 3D model. There are a lot of them on the ship, but since they weigh so little, it does not have a big impact on the performance of the ship, which is great. They're also shielded at my level, so if you have access to these, you don't need to place additional shielded cargo anywhere on your ship. And your shielded capacity is astronomical. So anyway, get these cargo units placed like you see here. And then on the front, we need to find the Darkstar XL-12 Tayo side starboard lander. And then duplicate that first one to here. And we need to flip both of those over and attach them to the opposite side. Now we're going to copy all 4 of these and duplicate them over to the other side of the ship, just like this. So our landers are placed. Now let's move on to get some fuel on this thing. Again, I'm using Darkstar XDF discrete fuel tanks, and you need 2 of these right here like this, and then duplicate each one and move them over to that point just in front and one space, or I should say 2 spaces over. Now we can place 2 of our 3 reactors, and I'm going with 3 XR62C Unity cores on this ship. For these ones, I chose this model because they sort of go with that, metallic finish of the fuel tanks. And now we need a few structural elements to attach our grav drive. So I use these Nova Cowling 2Ls on the back here, just like this. Then attach to this point before we hide it with our grav drive. Let's get our first shield on there. A Darkstar XDA 23C deflector, and you can choose whichever model you like the best, but I like that one in this location. And then for my grav drive, I just went with an XD45A Singularity drive from Darkstar, because it's very light and the ship is not that heavy and it doesn't need a crazy grav drive. So now we see the error that's telling us we have an invalid Docker module position. So all we need to do is move it up here to the top of the ship, and that will clear that error. And now we have no engines. If you're on PC, you can attach the engines exactly like you see me doing. I'm using the Darkstar SA4X X01A engines, and I'm using a total of 16 of them. If you're on Xbox, you have 2 options. You can either use 6 of these Darkstar versions and then fill them out with decorative engines, or if you have cheaty engines installed, you can do 12 of these vanilla engines and fill the rest out with decorative engines, the same as before. But the difference is, if you use the vanilla engines, you won't have the speed. As you can see with these Darkstar engines, we get a base cruising speed of 200 with this ship. So even if you use the base amount of 6 with all decorative engines, that's probably the best way to go. And that has been reported also by others that play on Xbox. Use as many Darkstar engines as you can, and then just decorative engines to fill them out. So that's the base of our ship, and now we can leave the builder and make a save, and I will be right back. With the foundation of the build completed, we can now move on to styling the Prisma. Getting back into our builder, I do my best to start from the bottom and work my way up so that we can get the lower parts of the ship out of the way. And we're going to move to the rear and start by attaching to the empty Deimos 1x1 hab and Intrinity Deimos cowl. And these you have to flip around a few times, but you need it in this orientation on the port side, and then you can duplicate that and flip it over to the starboard side orientation just like this. Now, just in front of these 2 cowls, we need Deimos skirts, and I am thankful that Intrinity includes a 2-length Deimos skirt option to cut down on module count. So starting with one of these on the front of each of the cowlings, we need to duplicate these twice to end up with 3 on each side. And then just in front of that, we need a 1-length skirt as well. And there are a few variants of this, so choose whichever one you like the best and place one of those here. You can, of course, mix up the order in which you place those. You just need 3 that are 2 long and 1 that is 1 long, somewhere in there. And then on the front of those, we of course need to flip those Deimos cowls around to be placed on the front of the ship on each side. And now with that slot on the underside of the nose of the ship, we're going to have 2 of our torpedo tubes and some spotlights. So the first thing we need is a Shroud mid bracer, offset 1 space from the landing bay airlock. And on the front of this mid bracer, we need to find the HopeTech cap, or sorry, HopeTech nose A in the 4 orientation. Just in front of that, we need to attach a Nova mini bracer. And just in front of that, we need a Deimos spine B. So place that here, and then using attach on the rear point there, we also need a Deimos spine D, and make sure you just have it flipped so that it angles up this way as it goes back, or I should say angles down. Grab both of those and move them out of the way temporarily, because on the top of the mini bracer, we need a horizon weapon mount. Now you can grab the spines and move them back where they should go. And then we need 2 equipment plates on each side of the Deimos spines here, and on the opposite side too, of course, attached to the Intrinity skirts. And then one last equipment plate needs to go right in front of the Deimos spine B. And that area is complete. Now grab the Nova Mini Bracer and the Horizon Weapon Mount and duplicate them and move them back behind the Stroud Mid Bracer. And attached to the Mid Bracer, we need a Deimos belly, like this. And then you can duplicate and flip that over so that it attaches to the landing bay airlock. Now, while you're here, get one of those attachment points selected and use attach. Find the Matilija spotlight aft and place one of those on each side of the Horizon Weapon Mount. We're also going to have 2 forward spotlights just behind, and we're going to do those now. So just behind the landing bay, get a Deimos Spine A, and just behind that, a Deimos Spine C. And attached to the Spine C, you need the Matilija Spotlight 4 on each side here, just like this. I use attach because it's just easier, for me at least. Now just behind that, we need a Deimos Wing E, and then duplicate that and flip it around. And then you want to select both of those Wing E's and move them forward like so. Because then we are going to replace our slim docker into the position where it's supposed to go. And you can see now we get no error from that. Now moving on to the rear portion of the ship with the underside pretty much complete. We're going to start with a Deimos skirt port aft bottom here. And this is included with the Intrinity mod, of course. Flip one over to be just above, and then we want 2 on each side as well. Just in front of these skirts, we are going to duplicate some of the skirts we used on the bottom. So go down to the underside of the ship and duplicate one of these Intrinity Deimos skirts and switch it to the half-width version. Then you need 2 on each side, one above the other. You can see those angles tie right into the skirt behind it. Once you've done this, move back up to the top of the ship and duplicate 2 of the Dark Star cargo modules to be between the bridge and the fuel tanks, the outer fuel tanks, I should say. You want them just like this. We need them for more attachment points. Now we can move to the back of the wing features. And to get the angle that I liked, I used these Nova Cowling 2Ls in the lateral orientation. And you need one above the other, but we need to move one of those Intrinity skirts to get to this attachment point in the back of the cargo that we just moved. Then you can put the skirt back, as it will attach to the larger skirt behind it. And then of course, we need these 2 on the opposite side mirrored. Place it where it needs to go, and move the skirt out of the way so you can attach it. Replace that skirt, and then duplicate the Nova Cowling just below. Now back on the underside of the ship, copy these 2 Intrinity Deimos Cowlings, and we need 4 of them back here in total, 2 on each side, attached to the back of the large Intrinity skirts. And we've got an unattached module error, but it's just that this one, for some reason, didn't attach. So when you highlight your whole ship, you can see what isn't attached, and you can move it into place and clear that error. Now let's get these fuel tanks and reactors out of our way, because we need to add some detail in this area. So starting with an Intrinity Deimos top cap, place one here and one just behind it, and then you're going to duplicate both of these to the other side, and then duplicate one of them to be just behind the outer fuel tanks. All three of these areas are going to get some special techniques in order to tie some things into that cabot bridge and add some mechanical detail. You also need 4 more of those top caps, 2 above and 2 below the wings, just outside of the fuselage and in the forward attachment point on the 2x2 halves and on the forward inside cargo modules. Now going back to the first one we placed, we need an Avon-Tech beam vert and 1 on each side. And then we need an Avon-Tech corner bottom 4. And also 1 on each side here and here. Then before we block our view of the core window, we want to add our portholes. So quickly highlight your passways that you placed and get portholes on all of those. That way that is done and we don't have to take anything apart later. There we go. And then, of course, we have this one porthole on the bottom that we need to cover. Sorry, this one hole that we need to cover with a porthole. So I just moved these out of the way because it would have been a pain to get the camera into that position. And then highlight the whole thing and put it back into place. Now all of the core windows are where they need to be, and we can start detailing this area. Starting with a HopeTech Cap A port mid, attach that to the top of the Avon-Tech vertical beam, and then duplicate it to the other side. Then you're going to use a HopeTech radiator, the big tall one, attached to the angled beam just behind the vertical beam. And it's a little bit picky with all the attachment points, but you need it right here. And this technique I am taking from one of my Discord members. I couldn't remember your name, so if you're watching this, please leave a comment or let me know on Discord. Now going back to the reactor and fuel tank that we moved, on the inside of both reactors we need Deimos radiators. Then select all of these things together and put them back into place. And now our core window is sealed up, so now unless we, start taking a bunch of things apart, we can't really see in there, so that's why I placed all the windows first. Now you want to grab those radiators and duplicate them to be just behind the grav drive on the top and the bottom. And once you have those there, you can then grab these Nova cowlings, top and bottom, and move them back. And I placed that top cap first, but really you need the top cap here once you move them on the top and the bottom. And these kind of just fill out the space in between the radiators and make the hull look a little more solid. So then on the last attachment point on the Nova cowlings, you need some Nova mini bracers, top and bottom. And in between those, you can attach your third reactor. And again, I'm using the Darkstar XR62C, and I chose to go with the model that matches the base reactor that your Frontier starts with in the game. I just like the mechanical look of it. Now grab those Nova cowlings one more time and duplicate one of your top caps. Attach it to the back of the reactor, and then duplicate another top cap to go just behind the first one. On the rear attachment points of the Nova cowlings, you need Deimos spine A's on top and bottom, and these again just serve the purpose of filling space visually back here to make things look more solid and structural. Now before we finish the very back of the tail of the ship, take these two top-mounted Trinity Deimos cowlings and move them just behind the HopeTech features that we added just a moment ago, and that finishes up the bridge tie-in to the hull. Now back to the tail to finish it up. Right here we need a Nova radiator. You need the full unit wide one, and make sure you have it flipped so it doesn't clip into the top cap. You want it like this, so you can see the bottom edge on the back of the radiator there. Otherwise it clips in and doesn't look quite right with the last two pieces we're going to place. You want them to look just like that, Top and bottom, you should see them peeking out just a little bit from the sides. Now just behind those, we want to duplicate a top cap and flip it to be the aft top orientation. And we need the aft bottom orientation on the underside of the solid one. And that is the rear of our fuselage completed. So we're going to partially cover these areas, so let's add the details before we do that, starting with HopeTech pipes attached to the top cap, and then we need HopeTech nose A's on the left and right side, and then another HopeTech nose A, but it is the solid one, side to side, doesn't have the rounded edge, on the back attached to the Nova cowling 2L right here. So then you can select those 4 modules that you just placed and duplicate them, move the whole thing over to the opposite side. Now behind our top caps on the wings, we need the aft versions, so just go ahead and duplicate and flip them until they are the right way. And we're also going to place those on the front once we have the attachment points. Now checking things out, let's quickly fill this space back in with another cargo. We just took those away to attach the landing gear, but we do want to place a cargo there. And on the inside of our middle 2 engines, we need Deimos bumpers. 1 and 2. Just to kind of fill in that little void that was left by the end of the Nova cowlings. I thought it looked unfinished, so these kind of helped with that. It also finishes off the backside of those HopeTech caps. Now just behind our landing gear, we need 2 Stroud Cap A's on each side. And this just really streamlines that look back there. No more big step. And also looks like it's kind of, supporting those engines a little more. Now we need Deimos bellies in the lateral orientation to tie in the different heights of the engine to the fuselage, and we want those top and bottom. The top ones go just above the fuel tanks up here. Now moving back to the top of our engines, we do need some more attachment points, so we need 3 Stroud mid bracers just above all 3 of the cargoes on each engine nacelle. Then we can duplicate these Deimos bumpers above and below, just behind the Deimos bellies. Now this is basically the back of the ship completed. There's nothing really left back here to add, but you can see how those little mechanical details, little fine elements kind of really add to the feeling of the ship. Just between the landing gear in a similar fashion, we do want Tayo mid caps, because I like these little mechanical looking, sort of, it's almost like a cavity in there. It's missing a panel or some kind of thing. I really like the detail on those. And they tie into the landing gear really well, of course. And then just like the back of our landing gear, we need Stroud Cap A's on the front as well. And with these things in place, that completes the underside of the ship, other than a few details on the leading edges of our wings. So now we can move on to starting to shape the front part of the ship, just in front of the bridge. In the center, you need a Deimos belly, and then on each side of that Deimos belly, you want a Stroud nose cap B here and here. And those, you can't even notice the clipping with the Stroud caps. I may point it out in the interior tour, but I may just leave it for you guys to see if you can find. So now let's fill in these cores, secondary cores, with what they need before we close them up. So we need portholes on the leftover passways that we had. And then we're going to place our second and third shields in here. For these cores, I went with this XDA 23C deflector 3D model. And then we're going to place our scan jammer, comm spike, and conduction grids all in these secondary cores as well. So to start getting our attachment points for that, we need these TIO side cap Bs with the attachment point. There's one with and one without. And then on the back, or I should say the opposite face from the porthole, we want Hope Tech nose cap As. And you want the version with the angled, you want the non-angled version. You want the straight, full length, end to end. And then you obviously, of course, on the other side want to flip it so it's opposite of this porthole. These portholes are offset like this for a reason you'll see when we get to the interior, but the rooms that they're in just make sense. Now copying that forward equipment plate, you want one on each side in each of the secondary cores. Right here and right here. And then the last thing we need to do is duplicate these side cap Bs, move them out here to be placed on the part that closes that space up. And now, of course, we have our attachment points for our additional equipment. So before we close these up, let's go ahead and place them. On the insides, I went with the Darkstar XEQ comm spikes, using their respective 3D models so I can tell what's what. And then on the top attachments, I used the XEQ conduction grids because I think they look like obviously some kind of part of that shield module unit. And then on the outsides, I was going to do the XEQ scan jammer, but accidentally placed another comm spike. So make sure you choose the scan jammer on this point here. I don't know how I didn't see that before, but moving on from that, obviously duplicate all three of those, move them over to the other side of the ship and attach them where they need to go. Because now we're going to close these spaces up so that we never have to get into them again. Well, I'm going to have to now after watching this footage, but you won't have to, hopefully. So now we need two more of these Deimos Skirt 2Ls, and on the bottom one, we need to move our TIO side cap to the forward attachment point. And now we can select all on this little assembly and move it into place. And you can see there, everything went with it. So that side is closed. Now we can copy these twice to get 3 on each side of the ship. And of course on the other side we got to do the same thing. The lower one, place your TIO cap on the forward point, select that assembly and move it into place. And then copy as many skirts as you need to get the necessary 6 on each side. Now just in front of those skirts, we need cowls again, top and bottom. But on these ones, we're going to merge with the large Intrinity skirt that we used on the rear of the ship. The reason I merged these two was because they have such a large step in the corner there, and also at the back it creates, there's sort of the half width, and creates another big step if you want the narrower side profile. So I clipped them in just like this, and I think they blend perfectly and add a little bit of diversity to the shape of these parts. And then duplicate each of your cowls on the outside of those skirts and attach them to the forward point. And then our final touch on the nose of the ship is 2 of these Deimos bows. We need 4 top and 4 bottom. Just like that. Front of the ship's pretty simple compared to the back of the ship, no doubt. That seemed really smooth in comparison. And once we place these windows, again, this is not the right position for these. You want the forward 2 moved back to be one space away from each other, front to back. So then the front of our wings needs Shroud nose caps. These are the 2 Bs. And you want one on top of the other and on each side, just like this, clipped into those Trinity skirts. Then let's copy the top and bottom Deimos bumpers to be just in front of the Deimos bellies holding the engines, or blending the engines, I guess. Here and here like that. And like I mentioned before, you also want these top caps 4 just in front of your flat top caps, square ones. And those are done. So now we can move on to our engines, and these are our last major elements of the ship to build. We need 3 Deimos hull A's stacked up just like this with the bottom clipped into the landing gear, and then duplicate those 3 to the other side too. Take the bottom one and clip it into the landing gear, the rear landing gear, and then grab the first 6 and copy them over to the other side. And just one of these here for attachments for the rest of the details once we get to that point. But same thing as the other side, grab another hull A and place it here. And then we need to duplicate a Stroud mid bracer. And we want them between the landing gears. And then we need 2 more. And they're going to be in front of the middle 2 engines. Now we're going to move down to this last little spot down here and use a Stroud cowling 1LA PB. That just ties into those lower engines a little bit better. Move that one to the other side because the rest of what we need over here can just be straight up duplicated. So again, Stroud mid bracer just above that cowling, and one more above that. And then you want one between the landing gear in this spot that's left. Now we need more Stroud cowlings. Go to the 1LA ST version and move it just here on top of the hull A stack. And then we need a 1LA PB again on the inside of that. And I just went ahead and placed all of these. Now just behind those we need the 3LA Stroud cowling. And of course duplicate that guy over to the other side. The rest of what we're placing on the front of these engines is symmetrical, so we're going to build one side and then duplicate the whole thing over. So grab a Deimos wing A and make sure they're attached in this way to that outer point of the hulls. And that is specifically why we needed to use those. Then you want another hull A sandwiched in between the middle 2 wing A's, and then you need a spine G on the top and bottom of the hull A. Once you have those placed, you can then attach Nova radiators that will clip all the way through the spine G on the top and the bottom. And in this case, you want them flipped again so that that bottom edge of the radiator is just above the hull A. Like that. You'll have the angle facing forward. So with those in place, we now need a Deimos braking engine on the front of that middle hull A. And attached to the front of the spine Gs, we need HopeTech pipes. You want to flip this one over so it's symmetrically opposed. Now, duplicate your Stroud caps. Move them up to the top and flip them over to their orientation. And then we want to move those Stroud caps out of the way altogether and build in the last features of the front of our engines. Much easier to do this way. So grab one of these forward points and find a Deimos wing D, flip it around until you have the angle just like this. And you need one of those on each of the Stroud caps. Like that. And then just behind that we need Deimos wing Bs. And then same thing, you need 4 of those just behind each of the wing Ds. Once you have those, you can now take your... Well, first delete those Stroud caps that we had there before on the other side. And and then select all of these internal features of our engine nacelles, the front of our engine nacelles. Make sure you get the radiator, the spine, and the pipes on the top and the bottom, and the hull, the braking engine, and all of the wing A's. Once you have those selected, duplicate them and move them over, and make sure you have them attached to this point, like so. Now you can select these assemblies. First, you want to duplicate them and put them on the other side. And that side is done. And now you can select all on these and just move them. You don't need to duplicate them. And now that side is done. Now we have those open cavities left in each of the engine nacelles, and to close them off, we're going to start by copying these two front Trinity cowlings and these two on the rear, and we're going to attach these back to back. On the inside of those cowlings, we need Deimos wing Bs, and you want them attached like this with their normal vanilla attachment point facing inboard on the ship. You need one attached to each of the Deimos cowlings, so 4 in total. And then to copy them over to the other side, I just grabbed one and flipped it. And then you can duplicate those as many times as you need. Grab your Trinity cowlings. I went ahead and positioned this one where it needs to go first. And then I copied the top one down to the bottom. Grab these front cowlings, attach them back to back, and then I can copy both of these at the same time and move them where they need to go. Now in the cavities, we need more HopeTech radiators, and you want these ones rotated facing outward. And they're going to clip into each other, but you're not going to see it. So in total, in each of the engine nacelles, you need 4 of these, and they're going to look like that when you have them positioned correctly. Then select your entire floating assembly and move it into place to cap off the area that the radiators are in. Do the same thing on the other side. And once you have these in place, these are too far out. Make sure you check that. You can put your cap over the top. And that ship is complete. The only thing we have left to do is paint and weapons. Otherwise, it is done. For the paint, I went with black. This ship, it has such a stealthy shape, I couldn't resist. Although I did try some white, but we're going to come right back and do paint and weapons. When I left the builder to make a save, I ran through the ship and found a few things that I wanted to change. So before I attach weapons and give the ship its name in paint, I'm going to hop back into the builder and make those changes real quick. First thing that I needed to do was move these habs out of the way, because at some point I switched this door to a 4, and it definitely needs to be an aft door based on the way it opens. Makes more sense. This door I also switched from aft to 4 on the front of that Stroud 2x1. And then I also need to move this 3x1 out of the way, and both of these 2x1s from Nova, because the doors going into those habs were strange in this orientation. So on the starboard side, we need a starboard door, and on the port side, we need a port door. I had them switched, thinking that would be better, but this way actually looks better, feels better. So then, as I mentioned briefly before, I didn't like the Stroud mess hall interior as much as the Deimos 2x3. So I grabbed that Deimos 2x3 mess hall and put it in place of the Stroud. I just think this Stroud felt really clinical. The Deimos had more personality, I guess. So with that back in place, you can now replace the belly, replace the Nova 2x1s on the middle deck, replace the 3x1 on the upper deck, and replace the 3x1 and 2x2 on the upper deck. And I also forgot in the last phase of the build to place these Nova radiators along the top, just in front of the bridge, to tie in that large stair to the 2x2 hab up here. And now for the weapons. I'm on PC, so I have a mod that unlimits the amount of weapons that I can equip to each group. But I'm using 6 of the Darkstar XP10C Disintegrator auto beams. And then I'm also using 6 of the Darkstar MM10C Exterminator micro nukes. These require 10 power each. So those of you on Xbox will only be able to use 1, but it's still going to absolutely wreck your enemies. And then I'm also using 6 of the Darkstar XB10C Destroyer autocannons. Now these in the particle beams, those of you on Xbox will only be able to use 2 of each, but again, they're still so powerful. You're going to be very capable in combat. So for your first 2 torpedoes, they go under the ship here on those 2 equipment plates on either side of the torpedo tube features. And then grab 2 of your XP10C Disintegrator auto beams and place them on the Horizon weapon mount just inside of the first 2 missiles. Then grab 2 of your XB10C Destroyer autocannons and place them on the Deimos spine and on the 3rd equipment plate. Now grab 2 of your torpedoes and move them over to one side or the other of your engine nacelles, and I place 2 of them attached to the central Deimos wing on the inside of one of the outboard engines. And it's a little picky, so you kind of have to persuade it in there. And then of course your other 2 go on the opposite side. And once you have those placed, you can grab 2 of your XB10C Destroyer autocannons, and they are going on the outside of each engine. These I placed attached to the top and bottom Deimos wings on the outside, just like this. And then on the inside of either engine, you want to move your XP10C Disintegrator auto beams attached above and below your missiles to the top and bottom Deimos wings. And once you have those there on one side, you're going to take your last weapons and do the same thing on the opposing side. Autocannons on the outside of your engine. And particle beams on the inside of your engine. Now let's quickly assign our weapons. I want my autocannons on my right trigger, my auto beams on my left trigger, and my missiles for my 3rd weapon group. Before I start painting, I'm going to quickly leave the builder and make a save, just in case I really mess something up, and I can just go back and start over. So first I select the whole thing and give it a unifying coat of gray, just to see how the shape of the ship might lend itself to color breakups. And in this case, I discovered that the long corridor stair used in the middle of the ship has that light gray color that you see there no matter what you do. So this led me to experimenting with a very light gray, if not, what basically is supposed to look white, and black, and then a little bit of, a pop of some yellow, orangey kind of ruddy color here and there. And I liked this, and I just felt that, the stealthy shape of the ship would look much better in black. So what I did to solve the light gray issue, after I named the ship and go make another save, because I did like the white, I wanted to fly it a little bit. But I named the ship, make a save, and then I came back into the builder and tried to figure out how to paint it black. And what I did was I used 3 of those Matilija armor plate modules on top of the long corridor stair from the ship extension mod. So this is what I wound up with, and now I can give you a tour of the interior. Before I give you the tour of the interior of the Prisma, I wanted to mention Team Scorpio's Raiju build, which gave me the inspiration for the very first room that you're going to see inside of this ship. Go check out his channel if you haven't. He's got a bunch of good builds that you are sure to enjoy as much as mine, if not more. So getting into the Prisma, we enter into the landing bay airlock. And just like Team Scorpio's Raiju, the first room that we have is our personnel staging area for a dropship style kind of feature. Now I decided to add some essential crafting, weapon workbench, ammo crafting. Here's our jump seats for our crew who will be on the boarding party or the landing party. I have some mannequins set up for armor display and of course a spacesuit and industrial workbench. I also placed a self-service bounty clearance terminal there, and that feels like a cheat code. Just behind the Trident lift is our docking bay airlock, and this door, according to safety protocols, should be shut. So now we can come over to the side of the lift and activate the call button to bring our lift to our level and take it up to the main deck of the ship. The lower deck is literally just entry and exit. Now here's our first core window, and we can see our first shield, and the grav drive is behind that. If I had any armillary pieces, they would be in the grav drive right there visible, as I'm sure most of you are aware by now. So starting with the starboard side of the ship, we are going to move into our Deimos 2x1 control station, and this hab also has a core window. Just because, you know, why not? And then we can move back through the control station into the Deimos 2x2 battle stations. Now, normally I have these connected directly to my bridge or my cockpit on my builds, but it felt appropriate here, not only because of where it needed to go, but also it's directly connected to the elevator. This is our Deimos 2x3 mess hall.
Hey, Captain.
And then there's our lift right there, of course. Now, the Deimos mess hall, I think, just has a little bit more flavor on the inside. It looks a little more lived in and welcoming, whereas the Shroud definitely felt clinical and it didn't have any personality. So the Deimos is the one for me, but you can choose any other 2x3 if you want. And this is where Mickey Caviar should be. I went and got him specifically to be the cook, but he can never be found in here. And now moving through the back port side of the mess hall, we have the Deimos 2x2 engineering bay, which is still one of my favorite habs in the game. It has a lot of great details and really, you know, tells a story well of what the hab is supposed to be for. Now we can move through our Deimos 2x1 computer core and check out this core window and move back through. And this is also one of my favorite habs in the game still. And we come back into our Trident lift. Now to access the habs in the nose of the ship, we move through the mess hall and enter into the Shroud large stair with the stair in the 4 position. On the starboard side, we have our Nova 2x1 infirmary. And we can see Rosie's actually here ready to do her job as the doctor.
Good to see you again.
And this was the reason I didn't place the portholes for the secondary cores on all 4 sides, or both sides of each of them, because it wouldn't make sense to have a core window in an infirmary. But it made sense in the mess hall in the little office, and it makes sense here in the Nova 2x1 science lab. So a window to the core from the science lab and from the little conference room, so at least you have something to look at when you're in that little tiny space. So again, this is our Nova Science Lab, and it's kind of a supplement to the infirmary, I suppose, is the main reason I put it here. Now, the last door on the lower deck of the corridor is the Intrinity Brig and Armory. And you can see this is an extensive hab module that has ample storage space for weapons and gear, and you can see it also has ample space for many occupants for your brig. You even have 2 mission boards in here for convenience, and that's why I didn't place any mission boards down in the bottom of the ship next to my bounty clearance board, because these are here. And then in front of the brig and armory, we have direct access to the ship's main workshop, which I also placed all of the Dark Star manufacturing crafting benches in. for my use. This is the pre-furnished version of the hab though, so I just had to squeeze in these workbenches wherever I could, and the rest of it came with it. And I know that the workbenches in the landing bay are a little bit redundant, but I still wanted to have them down there for even easier access. Now moving up to the top of the corridor stair, we're going to the port side to have a quick look in the Stroud 3x1 all-in-one berth. This one has 4 beds and a little bit of living space over here. And then to the opposite, the starboard side of the ship, we have 2 hab modules over here. They're also both all-in-one berths. This is a Stroud Eklund 2x1 all-in-one berth. And I believe this was the B version, but both of them have 4 beds. I just like the lighting in this one. And then in front of the Stroud all-in-one is a Deimos 3x1 all-in-one berth. This also has 4 beds, and because I really only had room for 3 living modules in the ship, I wanted to get as many beds in those as I could. Now going back through the hatch into the corridor, we can enter into the front door of the luxurious lounge, which is right at the top of the stair in the corridor. So it almost feels kind of like climbing the stairs right before the Astro Lounge in Neon. So you can see we have a pool table, we have a small library / reading nook over there, and this porthole is in the correct position on the ship. It is back, not at the very nose of the ship. And here we have our secondary hatch that goes into the Deimos 3x1 all-in-one berth. Now, sensibly, I decided to place an armory connected to the luxurious lounge because it makes sense, if you're drinking with your crewmates, to have maybe a little friendly competition. The only thing this ship is missing is a shooting range, and I considered replacing that Deimos 3x1 all-in-one berth with an empty, I believe the engineering bay, one of the engineering bays from Deimos, the 3x1s are the best for shooting ranges. So I considered doing that, but decided to omit it and add beds instead. You can, of course, do that if you want. Quick look at the bar and the little storage room. If you still have your portholes in the improper place, you'll have a porthole in that little storeroom, and that didn't make sense to me. That's why I moved them back. So that is the nose of the ship, and we only have 2 more areas to look at. We haven't seen the bridge. I mean, we've seen the bridge before, but we haven't been in the bridge in the Prisma yet. And the captain's quarters are the only thing left. So on the upper floor of the lift, we have another core window, just to make it feel a little more open and less claustrophobic. And then we can turn around and enter into the Cabot Bridge. And this is the second and third staircase in the ship, and the last staircases in the ship. We're all familiar with this one, but I absolutely love the cockpit view, or the bridge view, pilot's view, whatever you want to call it, from this ship, because you can see the front of the engine nacelles out each side over there, and you get an awesome view of the long nose of the ship as well. And then you have very direct access to your captain's quarters. You have a skylight porthole. You have a bed. And this is the luxurious captain's quarters. You can choose any one that you like, of course. I think for my RP and playstyle, I might download Eleonora's Crimson Fleet hab mod, and then download the patch that removes the trash piles, because look how bland that bathroom is. This is nice, but it doesn't really suit my RP style. So that's it. And now let's hop into the pilot's seat and take this ship for a rip.
Let's see what the stars have in store for us this time.
And now for the fun part of the video. But before we start blasting, I'm going to run through my level and skills and stats and the ship's stats and all that good stuff. So here I am at level 180. And for my ship skills, I've got rank 4 in astrodynamics and anetronic fusion, rank 4 in ballistic weapons systems, rank 4 in piloting, rank 4 in targeting control systems, rank 4 in shield systems, rank 4 in payloads, rank 4 in engine systems. I've got nothing in missile weapon systems, need to do something about that. Rank 4 in particle beams, rank 4 in ship weapon recharger, which was added by a mod. And then I also have rank 4 of starship design and rank 4 of starship engineering. At the bottom I just have rank 1 in automated weapons systems. For my crew I have Amelia Earhart, Andromeda Kepler, Gideon Aker, Marika Boros, Mickey Caviar, Omari Hassan, and Rosie Tannehill. And for my ship stats, while I'm in flight, you can see that I've got reactor power of 192, crew of 15, 30 light year jump range, a shield of 24.3 thousand, and all my weapon stats and everything else are right there for you to see. And we're about ready to get into combat, but first let me go over my difficulty. I have all of the game's options on extreme, but I'm also using Dark Universe Crossfire, Ship Combat Revised, and Improved Enemy Ship AI to further increase the difficulty of ship combat. If it wasn't for this increased difficulty, then the Prisma would feel excessively, almost comically overpowered. Now, Dark Universe Crossfire doesn't do anything to make combat more difficult, but it does add an insane amount of different ship encounters to the game that you can find in any system. After we go to the key, I'm going to jump to Serpentis to multiple of the Dark Universe Crossfire added ship encounters, and you can see how those go down for yourself. So we're going to leave Crete now and head straight to Crix and see what the pirates can do against the Prisma. Now you can always jump to Crix whether or not you have mods installed, so now I want to jump to Serpentis and show you what Dark Universe Crossfire has to offer. Now you can go to any system, but Serpentis just increases the chances of getting a hostile encounter. And then you'll see them all pop up as I run through them.
Heretics! Abandon your claims to this space or face certain death. This is your last warning. you prepared to make judgment?
The Varun Shroudbearer is of course a part of the vanilla game, but the following locations that you see that you don't recognize are added from Dark Universe Crossfire.
Light 'em up! Defense tower! Get that gun back online! Grab drive now!
So those were several examples of the additional space encounters that you can have with Dark Universe Crossfire installed, and now I want to go find a bigger challenge. So let's jump to the Deimos Star Yard for my first time in this universe and kick the hornet's nest. If you've stuck around for this whole video, thank you so very much. That helps my channel grow tremendously, and I wouldn't be doing any of this without your guys' support. If you haven't done so already, please join the Discord. I'll have a link in the description, and it's also available on my homepage on YouTube. I also have links to my Patreon and my PayPal if you want to make a direct and one-time contribution. But I am going to be uploading all of my content to Patreon for commercial-free viewing very soon. It's going to take a little bit of time. Either way, again, thank you so very much for watching the Prisma build guide. I hope you enjoyed the ship, and please let me know your thoughts and any and all of your feedback in the comments section below. I am overdue for announcing the winner of my Battle of the Builders, and I am going to upload the winner's video next. After that, I've got some other things planned, potentially some non-video game stuff, and I'm gonna give it a shot. So I hope that you'll be sticking around my channel to see more, and I will see you in the next one.